So you were at open practice.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen a lot of our Hill varsity clips and stuff that went out. Do you have a new evaluation of how you rank the position, like strengths of the team? Because the talk since Saturday evening has been how impressive the young receivers have been.
Sure.
And I feel like people are mentally moving them up, but have they moved past? Like, do you feel confident in what you've seen, that they're now a strength of the team? Or do you still feel kind of the same way you were entering into fall camp, where I know if I were to guess, I'm guessing you're going to say like the defensive line is probably like 1 or 2 for you. I know you feel very confident in that. A lot of the defensive positions would be there. I think quarterback you'd feel pretty good at. But did the receivers do anything significant enough with their now more depth, how good they look, that you could move them up more confidently?
So I feel better about them for sure. So I had heard that Keelan Smith and Quinn Clark were playing well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things that I was just like, okay, that's nice. Sometimes you hear that, whatever. Like Keelan Smith especially is legitimately good. I almost said this. I didn't want to waste the time with Shafe, but if I had not known who any of the wide receivers were and had no history with any of them, I would have thought Keelan Smith was the best wide receiver on the field on Saturday. Like, Ja'Cory Barney was probably up there, but in terms of...
So they go no numbers, nothing
if
on
I
the back
know
of the uniform.
nothing, if I am dropping in for one practice, that is the only thing I have. I don't know what they were as recruits. I don't know what they've done playing before, anything like that. I am watching in a vacuum, one football practice, and obviously limited live reps, but a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of things like that. I would have thought Keelan Smith was the best wide receiver on the team.
Physicality, technique, what was it that stood out the most?
Honestly, I didn't realize, Shafe used the term polish for Cortez Mills. I didn't realize how good of a feel and how good his polish was as a wide receiver. He had this ability, and I don't think it's because he's faster than everyone. I think he's got good speed and he's got good size, so that certainly helps. But his ability to create separation consistently in the one-on-one drills was really impressive. I said this yesterday, he put a double move on Andrew Marshall that buried him. Buried the dude, and he ended up so wide open. But his ability to consistently, because that's the hard thing about the one-on-one drills, and I'll give people kind of a little bit of a synopsis if they weren't able to make it to the practice. So they were allowing the defensive backs to be hyper physical in these drills, right? So, and I know that Rule was not pleased that they weren't even being physical enough. I think that was more in some of the live stuff than it was the one-on-ones, at least from what I saw. But they were allowing a ton of contact. They were allowing them to get up in the wide receivers. There was a lot of pulling. There was a lot of grabbing. This was basically do whatever you can to keep that wide receiver from separating and to stay alive and in the play. They were allowing this, and there were refs there, but they weren't really calling much unless it was horrifyingly egregious or maybe something that could have caused an injury or whatever, right? So that's sort of the stage set for these one-on-ones. And so a lot of guys were not regularly separating. And even a Ja'Cory Barney, there were times, because he's not as big as a Keelan Smith.
And because of the nature of the aggression of the drill.
That he created separation a lot too, don't get me wrong. But that there were some times where if the guy got in him quick, it was a little bit harder for him to create separation. Same thing with Cortez Mills. If a guy got in him really quick and was a good one of the better defensive backs, and was physical with him, it took him some time and wasn't able to create as much separation as he was when he was able to avoid that initial contact.
So I'm guessing this is a face-up.
Yes, you're literally
half yard distance, nose
so
to
it's
nose.
A little more than that. They're about 5 yards off.
Okay, so they were able to bump and try to move.
So they would close the gap between the receiver and the defensive back. They'd close the gap. They'd get into each other, and then they'd go from there. I think Keelan Smith most consistently created separation of anybody on the team, and he seemed to catch just about everything. There were some guys that maybe their hands weren't as sure, which this is a really difficult drill too, because they aren't preset routes. It's like, hey, get open. And so sometimes it's a little bit tricky with the quarterback and the wide receiver being on the same page, whatever, right? But the guy that consistently got the most open was Keelan Smith. Quinn Clark made some really good contested catches. So I was really excited about that as well, because that's the thing that Nebraska struggled with last year. He made some really good contested catches. So those were the two guys that, for me, I know Ja'Cory Barney's good. I'm assuming Cortez Mills is good, which was confirmed. I think Isaiah Hunter's good. I would have liked to see a little more out of Isaiah Hunter on Saturday. And then Dane Key obviously wasn't playing, or wasn't really participating in these parts of the drills. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Adding those two guys, adding Keelan Smith and Quincy Clark, or Quinn Clark. I don't know where Quincy came from. Quinn Clark.
We've been talking receivers all day.
Nunwa. That's where I was thinking. And Quinn Clark, like adding those guys to the mix and being like, oh, they could absolutely play. That's the big difference for me between this year and last year, right? Because after Jamal Banks, after Isaiah Nair, who obviously neither of those guys worked out the way you wanted to, you were looking at, well, I mean, Malachi Coleman had a couple plays as a freshman. We hope that works out, and obviously it didn't. Jalen Lloyd had a couple plays, and we really are only talking a couple plays. Like, go back and look at those guys' true freshman statistics. Now, part of that's quarterback play, whatever, but they didn't have a ton of production. Certainly not Ja'Cory Barney levels of production where you're talking, like 50 catches, 450 yards, right? So you're hoping on that, and then you're like, and then we got Alex Bullock, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? That was it. Now I feel like I can go 4, 5, maybe 6 deep really easily, and I don't have to stretch. And so that's a big deal for me with Smith and Clark specifically.
And I'm just interested in the sense of where you're coming from, because I wasn't at the Big Red preview or anything, and I kind of, obviously I would have wanted to go. I did feel like I probably should have. I had my Saturday night open, but I wanted to absorb more of what everyone else was feeling and kind of relay the information from what other people felt rather than form my own. Maybe that's a bad way of doing it, but I was just curious to see what like general opinion was going to be rather than seeing what mine would have come out with, because I feel like everyone, if you were there, it seems as though consensus is everyone kind of agrees on who stuck out the most, right? Who's the most impressive.
So I will say it is kind of funny because, and I'm not trying to throw any of our fellow media members under the bus, but Avery and I were talking about this yesterday where, like, there's some people, like there are people that are tweeting things just to be
just to say it,
like just to be grabby, right? Like, and it's funny because you talk to them and they're like, well, whatever, and they kind of couch some things and they're a little bit more measured. And then on Twitter, and they're like, oh man, like this guy's a dude, whatever. It's like that. I think you do have to be careful with with some of the things you see on like Twitter.
Yeah.
I think Avery's very measured. I think she tries to not say anything unless she actually 100% believes it. I try and be the same way. I'm a little bit more over the top than she is because I feel very good about extrapolating like athletic movement. I'm not a scheme. Like I'm not going to understand the schemes the way DB is.
Yeah.
But that's where I came away last year with Keona Davis. And I go, oh man, that dude's got incredible short area burst. And if I can take that from a defensive lineman, like I will. Short area burst in a defensive lineman is incredibly useful. You can do a lot of stuff there, right?
Yeah.
So his ability, and then I found out that he was like a shot put and discus thrower in high school. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. You got really quick explosion, short period of time. I really like this about Keona Davis. Then you find out like, oh man, they really love like his frame and his body type and everything. And I'm like, okay, I'm in on Keona Davis. Weirdly, a guy that I felt that about this year, and I asked DB about him yesterday, was Jalen George, who really didn't participate. He did a few drills, but he was so violent in some of his drills with his hands that with like he's like clubbing the bag and working through. I was really, really impressed. Now I have no idea if that translates because I didn't get to see enough of him, but that was one of the things that like I can't get out of my head is watching Jalen George rip through these bags and move kind of through doing the S curve through the bags and doing the club with one hand, ripping through with the next hand. I was super impressed with the drill work from him. Now, did not get to see very much of him and nothing in live or one-on-one action. So take that with a grain of salt. But honestly, the thing that stood out the most to me, or the group that probably elevated the most to me, was running backs.
Okay. I know you mentioned it yesterday with Mackay that you were super impressed by and was it you or who was it that said, if I were just to say, oh, hey, that guy, I think it might have been you that said, if I didn't know any better, I just walked in, I would have thought that was running back one.
Yeah. So, and again, Emmett was very good as well. So I want to preface it with that. And maybe it's because I had seen more of Emmett, so I was kind of knowing more what to expect. Emmett looked really good.
Yeah.
I have no problem with Emmett being running back one, and I think he's probably a little bit more comfortable coming out of the backfield at this point. As we saw last year with Dana, his receptions out of the backfield was a really big part of, I think, why Dana likes Emmett Johnson so much. But if I'm just going on running, and DB said something similar here, if I was just going on the running plays and I didn't know who was who and I didn't have – I mean, if I famously screwed up the numbers anyway and thought that it was Mosey half the time.
Right.
I would have thought that 35, which was Mekhi Nelson, I would have thought he was the best running back. He was the best. I thought he was the best pure runner.
And he doesn't look like a 35. I think that's the other part that
probably, yeah, I think it was. I was like, that's not a 35.
Give him a single digit.
I would say he kind of looks like one of those running backs with a single digit, like a 3 or a 5 would make sense.
I thought of this too because I saw the clips that some people had posted up. He looked like an 11 to me.
Oh, okay.
I thought 11 would look really good at him. But every time I saw 35, I was like, you're just not a bruiser, man. Like, I see 35.
I do.
You know?
That's a big back.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm thinking.
And so, I was looking at it, like, if I'm just looking at the pure running, like, Mekhi Nelson really, really impressed me. He looked really good. Emmett Johnson looked really good. And that's why I say as a group, because if you're just going like, hey, I like Emmett Johnson, I think he's going to be good. And then what? Like, you've got unproven Mekhi Nelson, unproven Quentin Ives, just moved position, Isaiah Mosey, and then you've got like Connor Booth. That's the other guy. Like, I was actually really impressed with Connor Booth.
I'll tell you what, I've watched enough high school games of Connor Booth that I can form my own opinion. I know he's playing C2 level talent and all that sort of stuff, but there are times, I know Sauter can agree to this too. There are times that you go to certain levels of football and you go watch, different players play against, and you can still see a guy play and you go, the way he plays is at a level higher than what everyone else is here. And it's not just because he's more athletic or more talented. It's because he gets it. Like, he understands the value of the game, like the little moments here and there, the movements. He doesn't run for 340 yards in a game just because he's better than everyone else.
So I really didn't know what to do with Connor Booth coming into it. I didn't know, because I'll be honest, it looks like his body has changed a lot too.
He's a little thick. Yeah.
Well, he was a little thick last year.
He
looks like he's pretty trimmed down. Like, I think he's at a good weight. He looked pretty cut up.
Well, people thought he was just going to be fullback. They thought he was going to transition.
So yeah, I thought he was either going to do like a fullback thing, or I thought he might do kind of an H-back. Sometimes they'll kind of put one of the tight ends in the backfield and split them out and things like that. I was like, okay, I could kind of see something like that for Connor Booth. That dude looks like a running back now, right? I think he's a little leaner than he was in high school, and I was really impressed with Connor Booth. Now, I'm talking about him as like running back 4, probably.
Yeah, right.
Like,
so that's the thing, is like all of this is tempered.
Yeah,
right?
So it's Emmett Johnson, it's Mekhi Nelson, it's Quentin Ives. So then you're talking about, okay, is it going to be Mosey or Connor Booth at running back 4? So when I say I was really impressed with Connor Booth, I thought we might be talking 2 years before he even saw the field.
Yeah.
Right? Now I'm looking at it and be like, oh, he could be a running back 4. We could maybe see him on special teams. This is the type of situation we're talking about where he could be really useful to the team sooner than I expected. Like, I thought he looked good and was really impressed with him. So that, to me, that was probably the single group that I looked at and go, oh, that's a better unit than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
Like, before, I probably went into it saying like, if Emmett Johnson gets banged up and is limited for a game or two, they're in trouble.
That's been the fear, right?
And now I'm like, at least for 2 deep, they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Quentin Ives obviously didn't participate. He was in a yellow jersey, so didn't get to see him. But if you go by bowl practices and stuff like that, Dana Holgerson was a big fan, so I feel decent about.
But see, that's been the consensus, though, coming into and almost confirmed from Saturday's practice, that really all throughout Nebraska's offseason fall camp was that, well, we feel really good about where the depth of the team is in general, that where every single position group is, they have improved in case of emergency, break glass, this guy goes in. We feel like we can still be competitive. Can't say that about years past. I think the next question is, okay, so you're a number 1 guy. You're the starter. You're going to be the guy that, gets the lean, has his name shattered from the billboard during Husker Vision, all that stuff. Can you stave off of the competition behind you and be a difference maker in the games? Because now that they've said, okay, our depth is great. We feel confident from 1 through 3 at most of our position groups, right? Who is going to be the next standout person? Of course, the one person you look at first and foremost is obviously your quarterback. But then who is the next person that can step up and be the difference maker? Because if Keelan Smith is playing as well as he is at receiver, or Mekhi Nelson is playing as good as he is at running back, people are going to start asking questions. Look, we've seen Mekhi Nelson pop off for a 15, 20-yard gain at once. So if Emmett Johnson's averaging 4 yards a carry, maybe we just need the pop. People get restless. People want to see that extra energy. And we've heard this multiple times from Rule in the past couple of years. The difference of, especially your playmakers, in turning what is a routine play into an extraordinary play has to be significant. And I think that has to be the next step for Nebraska.
That was the thing we hated about Dante Dowdell, right?
Yep.
is
He just couldn't break a tackle in the open field.
he would get his 4 yards, and then he would get brought down by the first guy that met him in the hole.
Goal line merchant.
Yeah, which is great. Like, you need a goal line back, that's fine, whatever. But it was one of those things that I just really didn't like. I think that's why it bothered us so much, right? Was there'd be a hole, you're like, oh man, he's got to break this arm tackle from a safety. And aside from the one time where he broke the safety's arm, that was like he just was getting tackled by that guy every time. And famously, Shiloh tackled him even on the one where he broke his arm. Right? Like,
Hot Danger says he broke Shiloh's arm, all is forgiven.
I mean, listen.
Build him a statue.
He still got tackled. Like,
he did.
That's
he
the
did.
wild thing is he
did.
broke the guy's arm and still got tackled. And so
I'd have to go back and look, but off the top of my head, I think his longest touchdown run was like 12 yards, 15 yards.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was in that game, like, too.
Yeah.
He had one.
I think it was the Colorado one where Travis Hunter didn't want a piece of him.
Yeah, I think it was the next play after he broke Shiloh's arm.
Yeah.
Which, if you're Travis Hunter, I kind of understand that business decision there. But yeah, so I think that was the big thing is if you can get some of those guys to break tackles. And for Emmett and for Mekhi Nelson especially, it's probably not you're running through a guy so much as you're shifty so they can't get a good, like, they only get a finger on you rather than being able to try and wrap up and go for your legs and stuff like that.
Well, I'll be honest too, you got to put the pressure on the receivers too.
Yeah.
Nebraska, especially last year, pure possession receivers. If they can get the ball in their hands and catch it, great. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That didn't happen as regularly as it should have with Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nair. But we were told so often about, this top end speed of Isaiah Nair. You know, once he gets the ball, he can get moving. There weren't a lot of those big opportune plays. We saw it more from Ja'Cory Barney.
Yeah, so you need the Ja'Cory Barneys. Yeah. You need the Cortez Mills. You need some of these guys with really good opportunity or really good instincts with the ball in their hands, right? And I do think that's where, like, I wouldn't be shocked if you see Emmett Johnson get a pass out of the backfield and take it to the house, right? Like, that's a thing that I think is definitely on the table for Emmett Johnson in this offense. I think he's got that ability. I think you can see that with multiple wide receivers. I'll be interested to see. I didn't get to see Keelan Smith a ton with the ball in his hands like after, but I'll be interested to see if he's got that part of his game too. But that's the thing where you've got multiple wide receivers where it's not one of those things where, like, oh, you bring Ja'Cory Barney on the field, you know they're going to try and give him the ball in space, and you can kind of whatever. Like, Ja'Cory Barney's going to be on field all the time.
Yes.
Special
teams too.
You're going to have Cortez Mills. Like, you're going to have guys that have the ability. And maybe I think that's the place you're going to see Mosey the most too. If he starts getting some reps at running back, is obviously he's got the wide receiver skill set. He's really good with the ball in his hands. That's why they moved him to running back. See him get out of the backfield for some of those passes as well. I think that could be really interesting.
It took to year 3, but I mean, all that talk of when Rule first arrived in Lincoln, the end of November, that first recruitment class, it was about getting athletes and transforming athletes into football players. They've got the athletes. Go be an athlete when the ball gets in your hands.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest pressure you could put on a player, right?
This is the team I've been waiting for.
Once the ball hits your hands, you better go get out there and go make a play.
Go make a play. That's a huge part of this, and I think they've got the guys, and they're finally in the spots where they're going to be able to do that. Let's take a quick break here.
It looks like Augusta out there.
And not out there today. It's a little. There's some. Although it's been rainy, you know, the grass is pretty green.
It's chilly yesterday.
It was a little chilly yesterday. I'm hoping it warms up a little bit for Pinnacle Bank, but not too much. Last year, famously, DB had to have a blanket for one of the morning shows. It was very cold.
Oh,
it was legitimately cold. Like, it was like 40 degrees one morning.
If he needed a blanket, then it was damn
cold.
cold.
Because he loves being cold.
Yeah, because it's cold in here all the time.
And he's got layers.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's not
like an onion.
It's not like he's wearing short sleeves. Like, it was real cold. Yeah. So hopefully we've got very pleasant weather for the Pinnacle Bank Championship. But